Hey girl, hey, welcome back to Strutting with God. This is your host, Fernanda Sekira. Thank you very much for tuning in, either it be through the podcast platform or through YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Thank you so very much for all the support. I do appreciate it. I am so excited to let you guys know. I can't keep it. I was going to wait till the end, but I'm so excited. I'm going to do my very first giveaway, and I am going to put the rules and everything what to do at the very end. However, I want to express what it's about, and it's about The Chosen. So The Chosen is a TV series that talks about the life of Christ and also the disciples and people following Christ. I think it provides such a dynamic version of the characters that we don't really see when we're reading that we read when we're reading the Bible. I guess you can see it because some people, when they read the Bible, they actually see it play by play. Anyways, I think that the show provides such a relatable aspect to these characters where you can look at, Simon and Mary and Matthew. Oh, Matthew, don't get me started on Matthew. I love Matthew. And they portray it in such a way where you realize that Jesus picked these people, even with their flaws, even with their imperfections, and that's the reason that he chose them. And so when we relate to these people and realize, wow, they actually had emotions, they actually had human emotions that I'm feeling right now. They were angry, they were scared, they were fearful, they were happy, they had joy, they celebrated, they made jokes, they were humans. And this show helps you put that into perspective, that even Jesus, that he had human characteristics. He was all God and all human when he walked on this earth. So I wanted to provide a challenge. By the way, it's not sponsored. I'm just highly obsessed with this show because it's so good. I watched it 5 times since I started it about 2 weeks ago because it's just every single time you watch it, I cry all the time and of joy and of how beautiful it is and how much I can learn from it and other things that I didn't see the first time. But I wanted to provide a contest that goes along with The Chosen, and the prize is going to be a merch item. Either it be, I personally prefer the hoodies where it says like binge Jesus, or it says get used to different, which is such a beautiful line presented by God, not by God, I'm sorry, by Jesus in the show. I mean, they're all in one, so either way, but presented by Jesus in the show. Such a beautiful, beautiful message. So if you want to win a hoodie, please stay tuned till the end, I should say, and you will hear the rules and what you have to do and what to expect for the contest. As well as I'm going to provide challenges. So there's going to be the contest at the end, and then I'm also going to do a challenge. Now, a challenge, I'm not going to ask you guys to, keep track. There's not going to be a contest at the end. However, it is like a personal challenge that I think you should strive to complete throughout the week. That's something that's going to change every week. So stay tuned to find out that challenge, and I hope that you stay along and we can get through those challenges together and help one another. If it's a challenge that it's either be accountability. I think that once we start being accountable for one another, I think people get things done faster and get things done in a more efficient way because someone's counting on you to do it. So I think it's very nice that we can start something together like that. Tell me guys what you think. Just email me at strutwithgod@gmail.com and we can work something out. And the next thing I am going to provide later in the future at the end as well is going to be the song of the week. So for this week, here's a song that I relates to the message, or I think is beautiful, or I think can be helpful for you throughout the week, whatever struggles you're going through. However, due to the verse that I'm going to be reading, which relates to it, I'm going to provide the song of the week right now. The song of the week is called Hills and Valleys by Torrin Wells. And you will see here why in a little bit why it is called that. But please listen to that song. It is absolutely beautiful. It's beautifully written by Torrin Wells, and I think it will put a perspective into your life about how God is not only there for you during your high moments, but he's also there for you during your low moments, that there's no boundaries or limits to God. So I want to get started with reading 1 Kings, verse 20. chapter 20, verse 28. And it says here, because the Arameans think the Lord is a God of the hills and not a God of the valleys, I will deliver this vast army into your hands, and you will know that I am the Lord. Ergo, hills and valleys. This is the verse prior to this, I didn't really see any verses that have to do with hills and valleys. This is the first time from me reading the Bible so far where hills and valleys are mentioned. So I wanted to touch base on that. Now, I do want to provide a little bit of backstory. So there is the king of Israel. His name is King Ahab. And there's the king of the Arameans, which is King Ben-Hadad. Now, I'm going to, for purposes of making it easier, I'm just going to say king of Israel and king of Syria, because that's what it is considered now, as Syria. So the king of Syria provoked king of Israel due to the riches in Samaria. And the very first war that was waged was in Samaria. Now, Samaria is considered to be on a hill. So it's a very tall place. So when they first had the fight, the Syrians think that the only reason that they fought is because their God, or the God of the Israel people, is only a God of the hills. Therefore, when they fight them in the valley, their God won't have any access to that. So right there and then they put a limit into God, because we have to understand back then in pagan beliefs, they didn't have a God for everything. They believed in, okay, this is the God of wine, this is a God of fertility, this is a God of whatever, blank area there, put whatever you want there. So they didn't understand that the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, was the God of Israel. And so when God saw that they were putting boundaries on the king of the God of Israel, God wanted to show them that, no, I am different than every single God that you guys have, because I am a God with no limits. I have no boundaries. There's nothing that I cannot touch. There's nothing that I cannot put my hands on. There's nothing that I am not in control of. So that's what God did. So during this fight in the valley, when the Arameans came and fought the Israelites, they lost big time. They forfeited, they ran away, and they saw that the God of Israel was a God that they could not beat, that the God was a God almighty, all powerful, with no boundaries. Now that's very easy to read, but every day, of course, we're not gonna, I think now we don't do, okay, oh, God is here and not there as far as places. I think everyone, at least who knows about God, knows that God is everywhere, knows that God can be reached everywhere as far as places go. But I think that people put limitations of how far God can touch your life in general, of your relationships, of your finances, of your work, of anything, of your children, of every single aspect of your life. I think people say, God, you can touch this part, this part, this part, but my finances, I don't touch that, because you can't control that. This is money. You can't help me out with that. Or relationships, that's the big one, I think, where people say, God, I trust you and everything. I know you can touch it, but there's no way you can help me out in this relationship. There's no way that you're able to do that. You're not a God to help me in this relationship. You're not a God to help me with my relationship with my mom. You're not a God to help me with my relationship with my sibling. You're not a God that can help me with a relationship with a loved one. You're not able to help me find a relationship with a man or a woman, etc. And so we tend to put limitations on what God can do for us. And I highly believe that God allows you to live in whatever level you want. So if you decide to find a comfort zone, I think that God will let you live there. He's not going to provoke you. He is a gentleman. He's going to knock on the door, of course, but until you open it and receive it, he's not going to force his way in. And so the more open-minded that you are, the more of unlimitedness, I'm going to word that differently. The more that you allow God to be unlimited in your life, the more unlimited things that you're going to see come out of it. God does not have limits at all for our lives. Man has limits, God does not. So how do we know that we're limiting God? One is we have no trust. And that to me is very big. We talked about last week how God's love language is trust. If you trust God, that is you loving God. So the very first thing is trusting. Now, this is going to be a very quick one, very general. Now, you can trust God in certain things, but you have to trust God in every aspect of your life. Like, it can be the smallest thing. Like, I'll give you a personal example. I have a tooth that I need to get fixed, but I'm praying every single day for this tooth. I am praying that I'm able to not get it taken out. I am praying that it is, that I find somehow to get it fixed and that I don't have to get it pulled. I am so scared of getting my teeth pulled out. But I'm praying for that tooth because God cares for me. He cares about my tooth. He created my tooth. So therefore, I don't think that there is a limit to how small it is or how big something is. Now, there's so many people out there praying really big prayers as well. You know, oh God, I think this is too big. I don't think I'm capable for that. I don't think that you're able to help me in that. And they don't even ask. It's not even a possibility in their minds that they're not even talking to God. Now, yes, God knows it's in your heart, but you have not because you ask not. You know, and we're so afraid of the disappointment of if we don't get it. But even if we don't get it, God will put the desires in your heart. So it's all a cycle of just once you trust God, everything is going to come to pass. Everything is going to happen for your good. God has plans to prosper you, not to harm you. So as long as we trust, it's all going to play well for you. Now, number 2 is that you're leaning on your own limitations. So you know what you can do, and that's how far you're going to go. Like, I know I can do this, this, and this. Therefore, I'm going to stop at the third this. Now, where your weakness begins, God's strength begins. Let go of it. God, this is as much as I can do. This is as far as I can go. I know that I personally cannot do any more that I'm currently doing right now. So I'm going to need you to step in. And sometimes we need to have that conversation with God. Sometimes we need to be very open with God. God loves you. God's your father. You know, sometimes I have to remind my dad if my dad promised me something like, hey, Dad, you told me you were going to do this. He's like, thank you for reminding me. He's your father. Treat him just like you would your own father, with respect. Of course, you're supposed to honor thy father and mother. But sometimes we have to tell God, you promised me. I'm doing everything I can. I'm doing everything in my power. I'm tithing. I'm reading the Bible. I'm keeping, I'm doing as much as I can. I'm having conversations with you. I'm trusting you. I'm doing all of this. However, it's not currently working out. Either give me a sign, tell me to go somewhere else if this is not for it. But you need to step in no matter what it is. You need to help me out at this moment. And you'll be surprised. I've learned so many testimonies about this happening where you surrender yourself completely to God. And you remind God, hey, you told me this, this, and this. I did this, this, and this. And you need to step in. God likes when you challenge him. And in the Bible, it says to challenge him with your tithings, with your money. See God multiply. Once you give your 10% or whatever God puts in your heart, watch him multiply. With the little that you have, you will have an abundance. Now, the third thing that we also do is we live by our feelings. Now, our feelings, I think I've said it before, where our feelings can be true. Their feelings can be real, but they're not true. If what I'm feeling is not something in the Bible, it's not something that's from the Word of God, that means it's not true. If I'm feeling unworthy, if I'm feeling scared, if I'm feeling all these things about myself, I have to remind myself and read the Bible. I am wonderfully and fearfully made. I am loved by God. I am worthy. I am valuable. And so sometimes we need to recognize ourselves that our feelings, we can't be controlled by our feelings. Just because we feel some sort of way, just because we can't feel God, just because we can't see or feel or hear God, that does not mean that he's not there. To be honest, I've learned a lot of times that I don't feel him as much as I did in the beginning of my journey. And this is getting really personal, but I remember in the beginning of my faith journey, like I've always been a believer of God, but I've gone really headstrong in these last few months. And I remember in the beginning, I felt like I was getting everything from God. I felt like God was working so many things in my life. I felt God do miracles that I never thought would happen. Like some things that I prayed for, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna pray for it, and when it doesn't work out, he's gonna show me a different direction. But then it worked out, and God did a miracle, and I was like, Jesus, wow, thank you. And I just felt God, and I believed it, and I believed it. And then I feel like I've gotten to a point where I don't feel God. I don't feel what I felt in the beginning. I don't feel that. So now I feel like I'm just hungry, where I'm hungry for it again. I'm just like, God, just speak to me, just speak to me, speak to me. And I've noticed that God is, when he told Moses, I am. God is whatever you need him to be. And sometimes I don't even know what I need. I don't even know what I want. And so I've learned to hear God in different ways that he speaks to us. He doesn't just speak to us by feelings. He doesn't just speak to us audibly. I've never heard God audibly. Some people do. I don't know. If I ever do, I'll let y'all know. But I've had feelings before. I've had, this urge before. But I haven't felt that yet. And I thought that was the only way that God could speak to me. But I had to realize that God speaks to us by using other people as well, and by sending people in your life that you're like, God, I feel like this is happening, but you're not telling me anything. You're not talking to me. And then all of a sudden someone texts you and be like, hey, this, and this, I'm feeling that. And you're like, yeah, look at that. We have to really be open with our eyes and with our ears and seeing that God is talking to you. You just have to be open with it. The other thing is we lack expectation. That's something that I feel I also have a problem with. Man, I'm having a lot of problems in this one. I have fears of expectations. I have fear that this is going to sound really weird, and something that we shouldn't do. But I feel like I am asking God for too much sometimes. I feel like what I am asking for is something that I'm scared to say sometimes, because I'm like, okay, God, it's like I know he can do it, but will he do it type thing. And so I stopped expecting it. I stopped because I didn't want to be disappointed by God. But I have to realize, and that's one thing that we have to realize, just because God doesn't meet your expectation doesn't mean he hasn't exceeded it. Wow. I'm sorry, that just came to my mind, and that was sometimes he will not meet your expectations because he wants to give you more. That doesn't mean that it's not going to hurt. That doesn't mean that it's not going to be painful to not have that expectation met. But with patience, he can give you beyond what your expectations was. But I do believe it was because we had expectations, and we had trust, and we did not lean on our feelings, and we did not lean on our own understanding, and we did not lean on our own abilities. We trusted in God. We leaned on God. We lived by his word. and we had high expectations, because he will either meet them or exceed them. We always need to leave room for growth in our lives. I don't believe that we will ever be fully satisfied here. This is not a vacation for us. To me, heaven is our vacation. That is our reward. Here on earth, I don't think that we are ever done until we take our last breath of spreading the good news of the Lord. Always leave room for growth, personal growth, spiritual growth, relationship growth. Everything in this world is not perfect. There's nothing here that's perfect. The only perfect thing that ever was in the earth, who walked the earth, was Jesus. No relationship, no job, no person, nothing is perfect. So always leave room for growth, and know that growth is good, because that means you are developing your maturity, you're developing your wisdom, you're developing your understanding, which brings you closer to God if you're doing it the right way. And so I want people to, this time, is stop putting limits. And in the words of Katie from Mean Girls, the limit does not exist. The limit does not exist for God. God has no limits for us. God has no limits for our lives. We just have to continue trusting and persevere through it. God will come through. So our challenge for this week that I want everybody to do is to just not put a limit. Find one thing, talk to God, close your eyes, and feel that want, your desire, I should say. Get that desire in your heart, and don't be scared of it. If this desire is huge, if this desire is like, this is completely different than what my life is currently, this desire is something that you don't think you're ready for, this desire is something that you think you're not worthy of, call for it. Put that expectation on God. Do the work. God will tell you how to get to it. You will know what to do to get to that desire. Don't turn down that desire just because you're afraid of it. Keep it. God put it in your heart for a reason. And whatever it is, God will either meet it or he will exceed it. Just do not put any limits on him. Alrighty, so I do want to go in and talk about the contest a little bit because I'm so excited. Okay, so the contest is definitely watch the full season of The Chosen. It can be accessed on the Chosen app. There's an app called The Chosen on your phone, and you can watch it there for free. However, they are currently funding for season 2. This is a crowdfunding TV series, so they do need the help of the crowd to get it funded. And I am asking you guys, if this is not sponsored by any means, it's not sponsored. It's just a girl who was just absolutely in love with this show. It's absolutely amazing. Again, it's not in place of the Bible though, okay? It is not in place of the Bible. Continue to read your Bible. This should just enhance your view of it, I should say. However, once you watch season 1, you're going to want and be craving season 2. So speak with God, see if, he wants you to help fund for season 2 as well when you're there. So please do. If not, that's okay. Please watch it and share with your friends, because I haven't met one person who has watched it and be like, meh, I've watched it. And even if they weren't believers, the story and the script is just so beautifully written. So good. So the contest is to watch the full season of The Chosen, and then send me an email to strutwithgod@gmail.com of your favorite episode and why. And I will read all of them. And with your permission, I will read it out loud on the next podcast. And whoever you are, I will send you a direct message, and I will get your information, whatever size hoodie you want, which one you want, because there are 2 of them, the Binge Jesus, and there's also Get Used to Different. So just tell me which one you want, which color you want, what size you want, and I will send it to you directly. So this is a really exciting contest, and I'm so excited for it. And I'm so excited for you guys to just start watching it because it's so good. And share with your friends, even if you only watch an episode or two, there's someone else out there who would love it. Even though I don't think that you're not gonna like it, I will put a bet on there that 99% chance that you will like this TV show, that you would find something in it too that's beneficial, that's funny, because it is parts of it that makes you laugh, makes you chuckle. Oh, I feel like I have a crush on this TV show. It's so weird. I'm like in love with it. But anyways, please do the challenge. Challenge yourself this week. Be accountable to someone. Send me an email if you're feeling anything, if you need help with the challenge, if you need help with getting the desires of your heart. I don't know much. I'll be honest with you. It's not like, oh, here are the 10 steps to talk with God. No, but I can definitely share you my experiences more personally if that's something that you would like. Because I remember I would Google things like how to listen from God, how to listen to God, how to hear this word of the Spirit, things of that nature. But I think it's a lot better when you have someone personally talk to you about it other than like a general tip. And I'll be more than happy to be that for you if need be. Definitely listen to the song. So good. God of the hills and valleys, to know that God is not only there for the hills of your life, but in the valleys as well. He has no limits to where he can touch in your life. So let's live life without any limitations. And thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys have a blessed week. And I will see you guys on the next podcast. Bye!